The evening sun painted the neighborhood in amber light, shadows stretching long across neatly trimmed lawns. Phones were out, neighbors whispered, laughter and gasps mingling in the thick summer air. At the center of it all stood Karen, queen of the HOA, her manicured hand shaking as she pointed at me. "I'll ruin you, Tom. I'll have the sheriff here in 5 minutes." Her voice cracked, but her eyes burned with the same fury I'd seen 100 times. The difference was, this time, nobody rushed to back her up. I dusted off my jeans, shrugged, and said, "Good. I'll explain how your car blocked my livestock access all day. Pretty sure state law doesn't look kindly on that." The crowd chuckled. Karen froze, her mouth snapping shut, her eyes darting around like a trapped fox. But the support she always relied on wasn't there. Neighbors crossed their arms, some even smirking. For once, her kingdom wasn't bowing. I patted the hood of my John Deere tractor like an old friend. Its green paint gleamed under the fading light, save for a smear of silver from Karen's Bentley. Behind me, her prized car smoked and hissed, a wreck of twisted luxury. The once mighty symbol of her status had been flattened into scrap no more intimidating than a broken wheelbarrow. The air shifted. Karen wasn't untouchable anymore. She wasn't the ruler of this cul-de-sac. She was just another neighbor who'd pushed too far. As people began drifting away, headlights cut through the dusk. A cruiser rolled up, and Deputy Miller stepped out. Young, sharp-eyed, the kind of cop who knew everyone's business. His jaw went slack at the sight of the Bentley, then snapped shut with a smirk he tried and failed to hide. "Evenin', Tom," he said slowly. "Want to explain what happened here?" I spread my hands wide. Car was blocking my barn. I asked her to move it. She refused. My tractor needed out. Guess the rest writes itself. Karen screeched, clutching her phone like a lifeline. "Arrest him. That's destruction of property. He should be in handcuffs right now." The crowd snickered, phone still rolling. Miller lifted a hand. "Ma'am, I need statements from both sides." "Statements?" she shrilled. "Look at it. My car is ruined." I stepped forward, voice calm, steady. "Deputy," I asked her repeatedly to move her car. "It blocked my barn door all day. I couldn't feed my livestock. I couldn't move hay." She refused to budge. Karen's voice cracked. "It was temporary. He could have waited." "Livestock don't wait," I said, meeting Miller's eyes. "And the law doesn't either." I pulled a folded paper from my back pocket, edges worn from years of use. "Here's the Agricultural Protection Act. Blocking access to livestock facilities is a violation, doesn't matter if it's with a wheelbarrow or a Bentley." The crowd buzzed like bees. Miller cleared his throat. "Technically, ma'am, he's right. This property is still zoned agricultural. The statute applies." Karen's face drained white. She stammered, that can't apply here. This is residential." But Miller only shook his head. "He's grandfathered in. It applies." Gasps, chuckles, and mutters rippled through the crowd. "Serves her right. About time." Karen's voice wavered. "This is abuse of power. He's twisting the law." I let her rant, then leaned on the tractor. "You know, Karen, I'm also on the County Farm Bureau board. If you want this in court, I've got lawyers who'd be thrilled." Her jaw dropped, the queen bee realizing her hive wasn't buzzing behind her anymore. Deputy Miller snapped his notebook shut. "Here's how it's going to go. Karen, you're getting cited for unlawful obstruction of agricultural operations. You'll pay a fine. Do this again, and penalties get worse. Tom, you'll need an insurance claim, but I don't see criminal charges." The crowd erupted, gasps, laughter, even cheers. Karen shrieked, "A fine? I'm the victim here." But the deputy was already scribbling her citation. "Law doesn't see it that way, ma'am." She crumpled the paper, looking for allies, but every face turned cold. One neighbor yelled, "You've been bullying us for years, Karen. Looks like karma finally rolled in on 4 wheels." Another chimed, "Maybe it's time someone else ran the HOA." Karen's lip trembled. She stomped to her wrecked Bentley, kicking the bumper. "You'll regret this, Tom." I tipped my hat. "Maybe. But at least my cattle are fed." Laughter rippled through the crowd, not cruel, but free, relieved. For the first time in years, the neighborhood had seen the tyrant unmasked. Phones slipped into pockets, folks drifted home. The deputy gave me a nod. "Take care, Tom. This neighborhood just saw more justice than a courtroom ever will." And as the last of the sun dipped below the trees, Karen sat slumped by her Bentley, a fallen monarch beside the ruins of her throne. But I knew one thing, this wasn't over. People like Karen never vanish quietly. By morning, word had spread like wildfire. At the feed store, folks clapped my shoulder and asked, "So, Tom, how's the Bentley holding up under the Deere?" I'd sip my coffee and let them laugh. But not everyone was amused. The HOA board called an emergency meeting, desperate to save face. Karen stormed in, pale and frazzled, clutching her citation like Exhibit A in some grand trial. She demanded my expulsion. Threatened lawsuits. Insisted I pay damages. But her influence was gone. Neighbors who once feared her now found their voices. One mother stood. "Karen fined my boy for riding his dirt bike in our own yard." An older couple added, "She tried to ban our flagpole. Said it ruined the aesthetic." The stories piled up like dominoes falling. By the end of the meeting, the board voted her out as president. The queen had lost her crown. She stormed out, muttering about lawyers, but the hive had abandoned its queen. Life returned to normal. My cattle were fed, the hay stacked, the tractors rolled without interference. The wreck of the Bentley was towed away, leaving behind a scar of bare dirt. I didn't reseed it. I liked the mark. It reminded me of the day arrogance met horsepower. One evening, tightening bolts on the tractor, a young neighbor approached shyly. "Mr. Harris, I've never seen anyone stand up to Karen like that. How'd you do it?" I patted the steel hood. "Son, sometimes you fight with words. Sometimes with laws. And sometimes," I smiled, "with horsepower." He laughed, but I saw the lesson land. Weeks later, kids' laughter echoed down the street. Neighbors waved more freely. The air felt lighter without Karen stirring the pot. But I knew storms would come. Droughts, taxes, maybe another Karen down the line. Still, my father's lesson rang clear: when you protect your way of life with grit, honesty, and the right tools, no one can bulldoze it. The barn doors stayed open. The tractor gleamed in its shed, waiting for the next battle. And every time I walked past that scarred patch of dirt, I smiled. Because power doesn't come from Bentleys or HOA clipboards. It comes from resilience. From standing your ground, no matter who tries to block your barn door. Now, I want to hear from you. Have you ever faced a Karen who pushed too far? What would you have done if someone blocked your driveway, or your freedom, with a Bentley? Share your story in the comments. And if you enjoyed this tale of HOA drama and tractor justice, don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and ring that bell, because trust me, in this neighborhood, the drama never sleeps.